Hello, my name is Reeve Andrews and welcome back to The Art of Reduction here at Trailway Studios in Bloomington, Indiana. We have a great episode today focusing on a long beard into a really nice tight fade and have a lot of texture and curls on top. My model today, his name is Eric. He's been about 3 months since he's had a cut. When I saw him and heard that we could potentially have him as a guest and as a model, I couldn't wait because his beard is so cool. So we're going to dive in today. We're going to focus a lot on positive touch, clipper work, how to transition from the beard into the haircut, and here we go. So Eric, please come on over, buddy. How are you?
All right.
Nice to meet you. Pleasure, pleasure. So in today's episode, you could tell we have a really awesome beard and you could tell we have a lot of hair going on. Eric has some pretty good genes when it comes to the hair game. So these are some of my favorite clients. I think they just really kind of stand out amongst the crowd, and just to be able to kind of showcase a big beard on camera is always fun. So I hope we could kind of just enjoy today's cut and as we dive on in. So as I have someone come sit in my chair like this, number one, I just want to make them feel comfortable. And number two, I'm always having, no matter what, as soon as I start, positive touch. So I'm gonna start kind of just slowly moving his hair into the direction I want. He has a lot of curls in the haircut. So I naturally am just going to start to comb him and kind of see where this hair lays, which way it goes. I might add a little bit more water. Water is your friend. And so a little bit of water will go a long way. I put a little bit of spray, smell good in mine to make it smell good. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of water to his cut. And that's gonna help me kind of see where we need to go. And more importantly, I'm gonna be able to mark him off and kind of section him off. So I'm gonna do a really classic halo section or a horseshoe section for him today. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start kind of picking him apart and really start creating this horseshoe shape so I could really focus on a really nice fade on him. So again, I'm a big fan of clips. Clips are your friends. So here I go. I'm just going to slowly start horseshoeing them out. I start on one side, and I just try to make a nice, even horseshoe all around. I know he's a very manly man, but I think anybody in your chair understands that, I'm a professional. I know what I'm doing. So using clips on a very masculine man is not an issue. So if you notice, I have it all clipped up. I have all that hair out of my way. We're going to use all this for the texture and for his movement towards the right. And we're really going to start knocking this down. So I really want to be aggressive. He gave me full ride to be aggressive. I wanted to be aggressive with this cut. And always heard the goofier the haircut looks in the middle of the haircut, the better the haircut will be. So let's just go ahead, and it's going to be kind of crazy, but I'm going to make my guideline very aggressively. So I'm just going to, again, I'm basically following the horseshoe shape that I created here. I'm dropping it down about 7 inches, 6 inches, and I'm creating that again because I want to take this down to complete skin so we have a really nice, clean haircut for my gentleman. Something that really blends into that really amazing beard. I just think having a nice, tight fade that ushers into all this beard hair and all of a sudden usher into all the nice curls he has is really going to be a cool, cool haircut. So here I go. I'm going in tiger paw. I'm actually using my clippers instead of my trimmers to attack this haircut at first. A lot of the times I feel like when I go through with my trimmer to create this guideline, it's kind of hard to buff out at the end. So I feel a little bit more confident when I kind of start my aggressive guideline with my clippers. So from here, all I could do if I want to really start to see my work, I'm going to start coming up. I have it completely closed, and I'm just going to be nice and gentle using just half of my blade. When I'm reducing a lot of the bulk, I'm only using half my blade to do it because I want all the power. If I'm trying to do a full swipe, sometimes that thick hair could get kind of caught in my blade. So just kind of like when you're mowing your lawn, it's almost wiser to do half strips instead of full strips with your lawnmower. I'm doing the same technique with my clippers. I'm just kind of doing half swipes just so I know that all that power in my clipper is going to kind of eat away at his hair. And more importantly, if I do half and I come back, it's almost like cross-checking. You're almost going it over a couple of times, even though you're only going over once. So same situation. If I just go half, I'm gonna come over just halfway, flick out, halfway, flick out, halfway, flick out, halfway, flick out. I'm gonna do this whole process all the way over. Being patient. Every time I get to that ear, I want to fold that ear so I could get up and underneath of it using the toe or heel of my clipper to get a nice clean cut around his ear. And more importantly, it's so I'm having that super tilted out like this. So if I kept it flush, I would be getting into all this hair that I want to keep for my haircut. So I'm just being very patient. I know this is a very kind of aggressive guideline, but you should still be patient and soft even though we're really creating an aggressive guideline. So just because we're making this aggressive doesn't mean I'm not really soft with my touch and really patient with what I'm doing. And your mind just kind of has to be just in the game, very in the present. You can't be really thinking too much about what you're doing after work or your next client. You know, the best barbers are the ones who could really just be present in the cut. And so that's why I'm just always kind of keeping my eye on him. I'm always keeping a positive touch. And just more importantly, I'm just kind of slowly reducing some of this hair so I can start seeing a shape that I want to attach. So I am definitely just going to focus on the haircut first, and then I like to transition to the beard. But if there's some little cuts I could do as I go, I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of you using the tools that you have in your hand to make your job as easy and quick as possible. When you're behind the chair, it's all about the time. It's all about being on time for your clients. I have guys coming in on their lunch break. I have guys come driving an hour to get a haircut with me, and then you get back to their kids' baseball practice to pick them up. Like it's just very important to be on time for your client, for your staff, for yourself as you cut this hair. So that's just one thing I always pride myself on is attacking with an attitude, but understanding that, you know, I need to be efficient with everything I do so that my job is nice, efficient, fast, and more importantly, it gets the job done. So that is what we're trying to do here at the Art of Reduction is how can we get the job done as quick, professional, healthy, kind as possible. How can I get my client relaxed with a good positive touch, with a good haircut? So as I do this, if you notice, I'm just kind of tapping down some of this extra hair he has. Number one thing about a beard, you do not want that beard to kind of round in. We either want it to kind of, like I said in the previous episodes, we want it to either kind of fan out or go straight down. So as much as I'm cleaning him up, this is just a very rough draft on him. I'm just going through, reducing a lot of the hair we're not even going to use in his haircut. That's why I like to call it the art of reduction. I'm truly just kind of stripping out all the bad hairs first, only leaving the good hairs for us to concentrate on. At a first initial blast, doesn't have to be too thought of in your head, because all the hair we're really ripping out is not going to be a part of his haircut. So if you notice, I'm going back and forth, making sure all this is nice and even. A clean line is a clean haircut. So I'm just making sure my guideline is nice and clean. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work down. From here, I'm just going to fade them all the way out. I'm going to take them all the way to skin from the very beginning. So I'm just being patient, making sure I'm getting all this hair. We could even kind of lower them if you notice that there's a lot of neck hair right here. What I like to do is I like to blow them off. I like to use my Aveda air control. I'm going to hit his neck a little bit. I'm going to jump on my feather razor. This is pretty long neck hair, so it's like that's long enough where, you know, once I get to my trimmers and my foil razor and everything, like this stuff could kind of clog and pull. So my main objective is to get all this out of the way first. So you have to be very careful with the feather razor. He has a couple of blemishes on his neck. So if I'm really kind of gripping and holding really tight on my feather razor, we might hurt him. So I'm keeping a very light, positive, easy touch on this razor. It's brand new, has a very sharp edge to it, even though it's a disposable. and I just don't want to hurt him. I don't want to draw any blood. So I'm just going to be a little patient right here. I like to use my blow dryer to kind of blow this hair away from his shirt so it's not going down his neck. The more you can make your client feel comfortable in the chair, the better. Once he realizes like, hey, you know, he's using that blow dryer so hair doesn't go down my neck or it doesn't go down my shirt, like he's instantly realizing like, hey, Reeve is thinking about everything of me. And the quicker you could kind of let them, your client realize like, hey, I'm in control. I want you comfortable. I don't want hair falling down your shirt. Like he's going to be able to relax. He's going to respect you a little bit more. He's going to thank you a little bit more. And more importantly, he's probably going to come back to you to get a haircut because you were doing more things than the guy up the road wasn't doing. So from there, I'm just going to finish him out with my foil razor. I like to build a house. So I'm trying to create a strong foundation. Then I'm going to create some strong walls of my house. And then I'm going to drop my roof onto my house. So the quicker I get a nice, strong foundation, the easier and better this haircut's going to be. So the reason I want his neckline done is because I'm going to drape him back up, and that's the last time I really want to see it. Maybe when I do a little bit of like razor work at the very end, I might dip lower into his neckline. But really here in a second, when I drape him back up, I'm not going to really see any of this hair. So that's why I just want to get it nice and clean, feeling good for my gentleman as quick as possible. So let's just knock out this. I like to go in little circular motions. When you're using a foil shaver, a double foil shaver, it's not an up and down motion. I might have done that on a couple of my other episodes, but I learn every day as well. So I'm kind of flipping script, reneging again, and I'm gonna go back down and I encourage you to do little circular motions. And more importantly, you just don't see the haircut, but you feel the haircut and you listen to the haircut. So I'm just sitting here making sure I'm not hearing any hairs being taken by my foil shaver. Beautiful. So we're gonna pop off that. Let's drape him back up here in a second. And now we could really focus on getting a little tighter. So if you remember, before I undraped him, got his neck done, I was using my clipper that was completely closed. So now I'm gonna jump on, I have a couple trimmers. These are my Hattori Hanzos. These are not the tightest trimmers I have. So I'm gonna use these so I could be my step down from my closed guard clipper, and I'm gonna use my next longest trimmer, which is my Hattori Hanzos, and I'm just gonna bring that right about 1/4 of an inch where I left off with that main clipper. So I wanna keep the length right underneath that guideline as is. So I'm just taking this and I'm taking it right up into that guideline, but just a little bit farther down so I have a little bit of transition that I could keep so my fade looks really money and beautiful. So I'm just being patient. Just taking that a little tighter. Again, I'm a big fan. If I have the tool in my hand and I could do some work with it, please just get the job done. So I'm already around his ear right now. So why not do a little bit of ear detail? It's been a while since he's had a haircut. So the hair kind of grows everywhere, especially if you have a long beard. So I'm getting in here, pulling his ear out, getting around at the earlobe, getting inside the ear. And I just think once the job's done and once the haircut's done, it's these little bitty extra things you do that make your client look younger, makes him look a little bit more put together, makes the service and everything feel more put together. And it just really makes the service, it's the littlest of things that make the service better. It's not just the haircut, it's the way you make him feel, the positive touch. It's the way you respond to him. It's the way you might hit them back up, after the haircut just to check in on them, see how they're doing. It's the little bitty things that you do, sometimes not even behind the chair, that really makes these clients fall in love with you. So again, I'm just doing as much detail work as I can with the trimmer in my hand. So why not? I already cleaned up his other ear. So why not clean up this ear? Again, move that ear out of the way. God made ears bendy so we could give really beautiful haircuts. And I'm just gonna continue this fade down. I mean, if you want to do a little bit of cheekbone work, you can. I'm right here already by his eyes, so why not? I could do a little bit of eye detail. If you notice, I always have a pivot point with my trimmers. So I'm using his nose as a pivot point. I could feel him move. I could feel him about to sneeze. If I sneeze, I could pop off. But most importantly, I have a nice steady hand. So these are very kind of detailed spots of the haircut. If he moves or I move in the wrong way and I rip off his eyebrow with my trimmers, it's gonna be a bad day. So as long as I have a nice, clean touch on him, I feel like I'm in control. He's gonna be a little bit more steady and the process will be great. So let's just finish up his eyebrows. Again, I try to do as much little detail work as I can throughout the whole service. And the more I can do quickly, I just feel the more he's gonna relax and trust me. The more he sees me doing all the ear detail, the eyebrows. I'm not even close to being done with his haircut, but I've already showcased that I'm really thinking of everything about Eric. And from, you know, the cosmetologist or barber, we could work from the shoulders to the tip of the head. So my theory is all the bad hairs from here are my opportunity, my job to get. So that's why I just kind of take it serious when I attack and go after these haircuts. I really am just trying to make my client feel young, feel good about himself, and that's how I change my community and my world one haircut at a time, is just by trying my hardest every day behind the chair. So now I'm moving to my JRLs. They're a little tighter than my Hattori Hanzos, and guess what I'm going to do? I'm just gonna come a little lower than what I just left off with my Hattori Hanzos. I'm not going nearly as high as I was with my Hattori Hanzos. And these you can still kind of hear. You can hear this trimmer getting more than my Hattori Hanzos. So let's just be patient. We're gonna get lower and lower and lower. I'll turn them around so we kind of start to see. Remember, we already did that foil work kind of low into his neck. So this should be just a very easy transition from skin into his fade. So far, so good. I love it when clients come in with a little bit of extra hair. It gives me a little bit more wiggle room to really kind of capture a shape on him. And so far, I think we're really doing a beautiful job. And I know I'm talking to the camera, but I would be telling this to myself. I would be trying to uplift myself, you know, as we're cutting, like, hey, Reeve, you're doing a great job. Shape's looking really good. Things seem to be working out really well. You know, you're your own only hype man sometimes when you're behind the chair. So I just encourage you to talk great about yourself inside your head. Don't be mean to yourself. If you mess up, that's okay. We could fix it. We could work around it. And just try to enjoy what you're doing. And the more you enjoy it and care about it, it's less work. And more importantly, I really do believe your clients feel it. And a lot of those people want what you have. When you're just out there enjoying life, not really working, just doing what you love, people want that, you know? So it's just really amazing to know that we could really enlighten people's lives just by the haircuts we give them. So I'm almost done with my trimmer. And here in a second, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to jump on a foil shaver. Again, I'm gonna hit it a little bit of pre-shave. And then I'm just going to, where I ended up, you know, I kind of did his neckline in my circular motion. I'm just gonna bring that up now. And I'm gonna teach you some things. There's a double foil, okay? There's a top one, and then it's staggered, and there's a bottom one, okay? When you are going down, when you're kind of coming down on it, you want that top one on top. So it's like this. When you're coming up the haircut, I flip it, so now the top one's on the bottom, and I'm flipping up. So I always heard that you want to kind of start down. So, and a nice kind of circular motion still. It's going to help you not irritate your client's skin. If you're just going up and down, straight up and down, the tendency to irritate your client's skin goes up. So to have a nice little circular motion coming down is very important. Kind of hard to do, but you'll get used to it. So I'm just going to slowly work this down. You could hear the foil shaver really digging in, grabbing hair, so you know it's worth sitting here. Nice and easy. I'm not pressing too hard. I want the the tool to do the work. I don't want to irritate his skin. If you need to, now I'm going to flip because now I'm coming up. Same circular motion. You see how I have his ear pinched, kind of using the corner of my foil shaver to get nice and low behind the ear. Pushing up, pushing up. Why not hit the ear a little bit, get some of those peach fuzz off of him. I'm using my finger as a backrest, so because the ear bends, so I could put my finger right behind it, gives it a little bit of support for that trimmer or that babbleless to grab the hair. Nice circular motions. Whatever you do to one side, I encourage you to instantly do to the other. So I'm gonna pinch his ear, get nice and low around it. Clean up his taper right here, nice and tight. I can still hear hair being taken, so let's be patient and just sit here a second longer. Beautiful. Cross check. Okay. So from there, we're just getting tighter and tighter. Art of reduction, slowly reducing this hair mass. Let's go ahead and blow them off. From here, I'm gonna do just a little bit of razor work. So I'm just gonna quickly drape him up real quick. Just give me a little bit of a towel to kind of clean myself with. I'm using a pre-shave, Johnny B. I'm gonna hit just very low. And then I'm gonna bust out my straight razor. And all I'm gonna do is just do a little straight razor work around the ear line and neckline, so that will give me the kind of the go ahead to move up my house. As soon as I get bust the feather, the straight razor out, this is my foundation. This is the last part of my foundation, and then I get to start working up. So I'm just gonna kind of clean this up around the ear, being patient. Wherever I'm pulling from, I'm creating some tautness with my thumb. So if you notice, it's let's come on to this side. Same situation, just cleaning up the very, very, very bottom of this cut, working around the ears. Anytime you could do some razor work around the ears for your gentleman, the money goes up. I don't know why it is, but I think guys, especially older gentlemen who've had good barbers in their past, just love the feeling of a little razor blade right around the bottom of that ear. And what I think it is, I really think it's because you could feel that air whip around, and I just think it feels good. So, you know, if you could give your client, if they're getting a nice tight fade, if you could bust out that razor just to hit the ear right here, your money will go up, your tips will go up, I promise you. So, almost done with my foundation. I will jump on my razor again when I do his beard, but like I said, I'm building up. This is my foundation. These are my walls. This is the roof of my house. So, beautiful. I just wanted to kind of give him a little bit of, in case I got him a little red, I wanted to kind of clean that off. So now I feel very comfortable moving up this haircut. So let's go ahead and get some water on him again. And I'm just kind of getting this ready for my scissor work. So with scissor work, I'm a fan of getting this hair wet because I'm going to do a lot of scissor work and clipper over comb today. So I like to use the Money Maker. This is the comb, I call it the Money Maker just because I feel like I get a lot of use out of this thing. I feel like I make a lot of beautiful haircuts with this comb, and it's just a wonderful comb. And to be honest with you, I got him just a little red. We could show this on camera if we want. But all I'm doing is I got a little septic right here, and I'm just kind of cleaning up his neck in case it was a little irritated. So I just wanted to kind of make sure, especially when you're using a straight blade or anything like that, I just want the skin to feel good. So I'm just adding a little bit of Nick Relief in case I got him. And then from here, I'm just gonna be very aggressive with this cut. I'm gonna do no guard on my clipper, and I'm gonna do a lot of clipper over comb. So let's start in the back. I always like starting in the back because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room. As soon as you start up front, man, it's like whatever you do, that's kind of it. So I'm just gonna start reducing some of this bulk. Nice and flat. I'm gonna cut it flat the whole way. Lock it, boom. Lock it, boom. Lock it, boom. It should be a nice uniform motion, nice and smooth. I'm not being jerky with it. I'm not trying to fight it. If you notice, I'm trying to really expand that comb out. So I'm coming in and then I'm really kicking that bad boy out. So I want this hair to be the longest and I want the right through here to be the shortest. And I will jump on the clippers to kind of finish this out, but I'm trying to get a nice flat side on him. So the fact that I could come at it at a very strong angle with this clipper over comb action, I think gives me a little bit more wiggle room and direction than what I think a clipper in a guard would do. So I just feel like I have a little bit more kind of touch with this. I have a little bit more control when I'm using clipper over comb. I think it's something you have to be very careful with, because if I actually get behind or underneath this comb, I'm really just soul patching him, and that will really be a hard haircut to kind of buff out. So I'm right-handed, I'm on the left side of his head, so I'm kind of going with his head. So if you notice here in a second, when I get to the back, I'm gonna come up, and then here in a second, I'm gonna have to go this way now, instead of coming this way, because this hair I have pushing forward. This hair, if I was coming this way, I'd be pushing it back. So I need to switch my angle, and we're gonna be going forward. And it's kind of a hard move. I get it. So let's just be patient. I'm gonna rip through some of this some more. And then from here, we're gonna switch my angle, and now I'm coming towards his face again. And again, I'm going to jump on clippers at some point to finish this fade out, but I'm just reducing a lot of the hair that we're not going to use. And more importantly, I like to start cutting hair so I can start seeing the shape I want. The quicker I could kind of start seeing the shape that his head shape is giving me, his hair is giving me, I think the quicker my haircuts go. So my biggest thing is, like, I need to get to a place where I see the shape, I see the idea coming. Like, I have the idea in my head before I even start, but the quicker I could get to that step of like visually seeing the shape of the cut, that's when my anxiety goes down. That's when my haircuts start to come alive, because then I could really start to hone in on the overall shape instead of just cutting hair. And that's the beautiful thing about art of reduction. It goes from just cutting hair, getting all this hair that we're not going to use off our client, to really being picky on what hairs we keep on your client. And so that's just really fun. It's a great way for your brain to work, keeps you going, keeps you kind of thoughtful into the process. Now I had it completely closed. Now I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna start working just a little higher up, so I want a little softer look up here. So if I have my blade open, I feel like the hair just kind of feathers through it a little smoother. It's not a super, like, I don't even know, it's like, if I have it closed, man, it's a zap. You're really ripping hair off very quickly, very, very precisely. But if I have it completely open, it gives me a little bit more wiggle room. It's a little softer of a cut. And again, as it's, this is very tight and organized. As we move up into his texture, it's gonna get softer. His hair's soft, his curls are soft. So why not have a little softer brim? And that's what I'm trying to create with just using my clipper and how open or closed I have it, which I just find so amazing that there's so much technical levels to hair cutting that the sky's the limit. So really, the money is all about how far you want to push yourself. Do you just want to be a cookie cutter hairstylist doing the same haircut on everybody you see? Or are you really starting to kind of come around and figure out what these haircuts for our gentlemen is best for them? And once you really start putting a haircut that is best for your client, the money goes up. So now I debulked a lot of this. Let's go back to our fade. Again, you're allowed to take steps forward and take steps back in hair. So I like the shape I have. So now let's really start to fade him out. And remember, if I remember correctly, I just used my clipper to notch out that first guideline, right? And whatever you put the guideline in with is what you'll get the guideline out with. So I'm going to actually step above my clipper. I'm going to put a guard on, and we're going to do a 1 guard. And I'm going to have it completely opened, and I'm going to start working this bottom line out. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. This haircut should be a really cool one, just with how healthy his scalp is and how wide his scalp is and how like nice and dark and thick his hair is. This haircut should really kind of come to life. So I'm going to start using this 1 guard completely open, and I'm going to take it up maybe an inch, maybe an inch and a half to really kind of start this fade for him. So I call it a typewriter. Once I hit the end of his one side of his face, I'm instantly going to come all the way back around. All the way back around until I hit, guess what? This side. And then I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to come all the way back around. And this is that typewriter kind of movement I was talking about. Once it hits that back stop, she's coming all the way back. All the way back. Being patient, I'm letting the tool do the work. I have it all the way opened, and what I'm going to do is, now that I have kind of a nice guideline from up here, now I'm going to start fading this out. So I'm going to go all the way around here again, and then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slowly start tightening my blade with each and every typewriter motion down his head, okay? So here we go. So now it's just a smidge tighter. And every time I tighten it up, what I'm doing is I'm not going nearly as high. I'm actually going lower than what I did. So this is, now I'm going all the way tight with my 1 guard, being patient, not taking it up nearly as high as what I did when I had it all the way open. Being patient, letting the hair and clipper do the work. Nice circular motions to really try to get in there and get every little angle of hair that you can. This little circular motion is so important. It's something I've been trying to work on the last couple of months. And the more of a circular motion I have, I feel like the smoother the fade kind of is. And remember, I have this all the way closed, and I'm just not going up nearly as high on this fade. If you remember correctly, I skipped my 1/2 guard as well. So here in a second, I'm about to jump on my 1/2 guard. I'm dropping my 1 guard, moving to my 1/2 guard, and I'm opening up the clipper all the way. And guess what? I'm just not going to come as high. I'm going to just stay a little lower than what I had that 1 guard that was all the way closed with. Being patient, back and forth, back and forth. I'm going to slowly tighten up my 1/2 guard now, not coming up nearly as high. So far, so good. Looking really good. Let's go ahead and move that ear out as we get a little lower in this cut. You start moving that ear out of the way. I just tightened my clipper just a little bit more. Being patient. I'm not hearing much hair being taken. That's okay. I have it all the way tight now. Following that guideline, trying to get that little dark brim out of my fade. And remember, whatever you put the line in with is what you're going to get the line out with usually. So here in a second, I'm going to jump to a no guard. I'm going to use some cool care. I've been using this clipper the whole time, so let's cool it down a little bit since we're going to be on skin. And then I'm going to start right where we first started, okay? So I have this all the way opened, and if you can see that little dark line that fade has, that's what I'm trying to bust out right now. So let's just be patient. I'm using the toe and the heel. Being patient, letting the tool do the work. I'm not trying to push that fade up any higher. I like my shape. Let's go all the way around to his ear. Being patient. Being patient. Just clean, clean, clean. Let's go up a little higher, using that toe to really get this cleaned up. So far I'm liking what I'm seeing. If you notice, I'm like pinching in on his eyebrow. I want this to come forward, so I have a little drop up here. Love that. Using the toe to get this out. And again, I haven't even touched the lever yet, so this has been all open. Really being patient, letting the tool do the work. We're getting so close to have a nice smooth fade, so why rush it right now? No need. So here in a second, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly tighten that blade. Just tightened it up a little bit. You can almost hear the clipper just change, actually. Now I'm not going to go nearly as high. Not nearly as high. Watching which way that hair grows, making sure I'm going right into it. Again, this is just a little tighter than what I just had. When I put that line in with at the very, very beginning, I had it completely closed. So when I slowly close this, the fade should really just hopefully start coming to life a little bit. Let's go all the way to the end again. Close it a little tighter. Nice circular motions. So far looking really, really good on Eric. Being patient. Watching the hair, making sure that clipper is going right into that hair. So far so good. Really loving what I'm seeing so far. Again, I'm a cosmetologist at heart, so the clipper game is what gives me the most anxiety, even though I'm getting fairly good at it. It's this stuff that I had to take forever to learn. And so when I get past this step and get onto my scissor work, I'm in the clear. Like, I love my scissors. So I just appreciate you guys for following us. And I know I don't do everything right behind the chair, and I don't think anyone does. Your main objective is to find the couple things that I do right and add that to your repertoire. So I just encourage you to always strive to be a student, push yourself, don't judge everybody, and try to learn from everybody. So here I have it completely tight, really starting to get that last bit out. And I could assume once I jump on my trimmer, I could really do some work. So let's just be patient here. Whatever you put the line in with is what you'll usually get the line out with. And I mean, I'm talking about, if you remember correctly from the very beginning, I mentioned how I was using kind of like a tiger paw to etch that line in. So guess what? Even though I was coming up like this with it, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna flip it around, and I'm gonna use that same tiger paw technique. Remember, like, whatever you put the line in with is what you're gonna get the line out with. So this is the way I put that line in with. I use this tiger paw technique. So that's why I'm gonna flip it back around and do a lot of my detail work with my tiger paw, because this is what I put the line in with. So here in a second, I'm gonna jump on my trimmers just to make sure we're extra good, because those are gonna be a little tighter than my clippers closed. Let's clean them off so we can kind of see where we're at with the fade. Beautiful. I'm a big fan of my Torii Hanzos. These are right below that clipper, that magic clip. So I'm gonna be able to finish out my whole job with these bad boys. You could hear that hair being taken. That's money. You could hear that hair being taken. So we're sitting here being patient. Be patient. Being patient. Loving what I'm seeing so far on this fade. Okay. So now we're going to advance forward. I was thinking about maybe jumping on my scissors and kind of finishing this out, but I feel like I could do a couple more clipper guards and work my way up. So let's jump on a 2 guard, and I'm gonna have it all the way open, guys. And I'm gonna start in the back. If you notice, kind of the trend is just kind of starting in the back. So I'm gonna come up maybe just a 1/2 inch to a 1/4 of an inch possibly this time. Nothing crazy. Keeping that same horseshoe shape, that same shape. That's what we created with to begin with. That's the one that we're kind of going, this whole haircut's based off of, was that this horseshoe shape that we created at the beginning. Nice flick out, especially when you're getting to this hair that you kind of want to keep a little longer than your fade. Having a really, really strong flick out is always a nice option, because that's going to save you a lot of heartbreak if you accidentally take too much hair off of your fade. So that little flick out's kind of saving you a little bit of insurance that you're not going to just rip off all this hair during this process. So being patient, have this guard all the way open. So far I'm really, really liking what I'm seeing so far. And here in a second, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to slowly start closing that guard and working it back down that fade. So I'm going to close it just a little bit, continue with my nice flick out, watching which way that hair grows, making sure I'm coming with the hair, or I guess against the hair then instead of with the hair, because I want that hair to be able to grab real nicely into my clipper. So now I have it all the way tight, nice circular motions. Fade's starting to really kind of come to life up here. And if you remember, I skipped my 1.5 guard. So here in a second, I'm at a 2 guard completely closed. Now I'm gonna jump down to my 1.5 guard to get this extra little bit of hair in my fade. So I feel confident there. I'm dropping my 2 guard, jumping on my 1.5 guard. I have it all the way open. Make sure it's nice and stuck in there. I heard that click. And I'm gonna continue this fade all the way up. Really liking how Eric's looking so far. Giving me the go ahead to continue what I'm doing. I feel confident, I feel good. Close that guard a little bit. You could hear it take a little bit more hair. That's okay, it's what we want. Working that fade up. Working that fade up. I'm just looking for any dark spots in the haircut, areas that the fade's not cooperating or the hair's not cooperating. He does have some salt and pepper, which adds a little bit of extra work on making a really clean fade, because a lot of times this hair might not be the same texture as one, or might not be thick as one, because he has a little bit of salt and pepper. So just that's where you come into play, to make sure you're coming in at every single angle of this fade, so we could really make sure that all those hairs are getting cut exactly where we want them. And that's where being a master barber, making this hair listen to you, making this hair work for you, is what it's all about. So I feel like I should jump back on my 1 guard. Why not? Just to finish this out, keep it tight, keep it looking good. And all this extra little work, I think a lot of guys would probably just skip over this one. They've already done this. But to me, I go by the look of the hair more than anything. If it doesn't look right, I'm gonna stay around and start trying to work it out, trying to make it better, until it looks exactly how I envisioned it from the very beginning. So I think this is just a little dark right here. So far that's looking a lot better. Being patient. This clipper's still catching hair, so why not be patient, let it do its job. Being patient. And we're on film. I try to be the best I can. I'm gonna take it all the way down. And now it's a 1/2 guard, open, just getting this last bit, cross-checking. I think this is looking extra good so far. Nice and clean. Being patient. Okay, that's a 1/2 guard. Now I'm jumping on a no guard. This is what we initially put that haircut in with. And I bet this might be my last one. I think this is my last one. It's looking good, just me doing this right here. We'll be bringing this out. I have it all the way open, so I'm gonna be able to close it all the way too, and that will really kind of singe this haircut into place. Loving it. Loving it so far. Slowly closing it. Slowly closing it. Now I have it all the way closed. Just hitting that last little blurry line that I want out of there. Okay, guys, let's clean him off. And we're gonna really, now I get to get into my scissor work. And that's where I like to shine. So, blow him off completely. And we're not completely done until I'm not ready yet to drop all this hair and work on this. I still have about a 1/2 inch of hair to work on, okay? So spray him back down, keeping those clips up. And I just want to create a nice little blend with that extra hair we have, okay? Just using this stuff right here. That's what we're going to use to blend in. And what I'm going to use today, I'm not going to use my shears, but I'm going to use my 21 tooth Hattori Hanzo thinning shears. So I'm going to kind of tilt his head, and I'm going to start reducing this hair right here. I want it a little shorter and a little tighter here. As we advance back, it's going to get a little longer. I want a little bit more volume in the back. So I'm going to have this push forward, and I'm going to go really, I could go really quick with my scissors. So I'm just really trying to break this hair down, blend it into that tightness. If I use my scissors, I would feel like I would take too much length off. And it's that length that's giving us that contrast, that dark hair that we're seeing right here. It's because it's a lot longer than the rest of his hair. So I don't technically want to take off all the length because I want that dark strip there to kind of give me some contrast. So really what I'm doing is I'm actually just reducing bulk and texturizing the heck out of his hair to give me some contrast and give me a little bit more control. It's just not long hair anymore. So I think this is really starting to look good for him. And once I jump on my scissors to kind of clean everything up, you'll start to see what I'm talking about. So let's just keep working this out. Scissors, all the way up, all the way up. I want to keep it a little bit more full in his crown. So I'm being a little bit more whimsical, not as serious back here. And then boom, back into this side. Whatever you do to one side, let's do to the other. Trying to make them look symmetrical is the name of the game. The more making them look symmetrical, I just feel like the kind of better looking they are, and that is just kind of the way the world is, you know. The more symmetrical the face, usually the prettier the person. So if I could create that for my gentleman with his hair, money goes up. He's going to come back to me. So again, just working out that last bit of that fade because I want to keep a lot of this length. Now from there, now I reduce all that bulk and all that weight, I could be a little bit more serious with the shape. So let's just go through here. Start cleaning this up a little bit. Any long corner pieces getting out of here. Straight up, straight up. Whatever you do to one side, let's do to the other. Looking good, looking good. Okay. So now let's get to the top. Let's get to the fun. He said he's wanting to go a little shorter on top. I absolutely love that for him. He's a hardworking man. It's starting to get warmer here in Indiana. So creating a haircut for his lifestyle is what it's all about too. So what I like to do, the bangs are the most important part of the haircut. It's like the first thing he sees when he opens his eyes. So let's just save those for last. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark them off. Get all those bangs out of the way. And I'm going to clip them off. Boom. Come on the other side. Boom. And then I add one more in the middle for extras. So if you look at him, I have his bangs forward and all this hair in the back. So let's get some moisture back into these curls. And I'm going to really change the game. I'm going to use a feather razor today. Not much scissor work. He has a lot of texture in his hair, so I'll be able to really play with that. Even though it's going to be shorter, I still want it to be kind of up and messy and have some room for movement. So let's have some fun today. Today we're going to work on our feather razor. It has a guard on it, so I really can't cut myself. I really can't cut him. If we're working on the skin and he has a blemish or a little skin tag, definitely going to cut it off. So when you're working on the skin with your feather razor, be very careful. But when you're working up into a lot of hair, it's really fun. So what I'm going to do is his hair kind of naturally goes to the right. So that's how I'm going to cut this whole head kind of naturally towards the right. So if you notice, I'm just going to start pulling up hair, and I'm going to be pretty aggressive. Using the thumb as a backstop, I'm going to start ripping hair off. And this is going to be really easy, really fun. It looks good, and it's unique. A lot of guys aren't using the feather razor. No matter what I'm doing is I want it shorter in the crown, and as those curls and texture move forward, we're going to get a little longer as we head to the front of that cut. So I'm just kind of bringing it up, watching which way his hair grows, watch which way his calyx are, and I'm going to start in this crown. I'm going to beat this crown up first as I move forward. So if you kind of start noticing, I call this the hurricane. So I'll show you what my brain is doing right now. Everyone has a hurricane, okay? Everyone has a crown. So I try to find the hurricane. So if you notice, there is his crown, the right here. It kind of starts here. And just like with any hurricane, I call that the eye of the storm. And from the eye of the storm, it has swells, okay? The storm will have legitimate swells, okay? So these are the wind patterns from his hurricane. This hair goes this way. This hair comes up. This hair goes this way, fans out over here, fans this way. Now it's starting to turn. All of a sudden, when it gets here, it's kicking all the way back around. So the trick is to work with the hurricane and which way those swells are going. So this hair kind of comes down. So I'm going to cut it down. This hair starts to pick back up and kind of come back over towards his head this way. So guess what? I'm going to work with that. All of a sudden, this hair kind of comes down. So I need to scrape and cut that way. And back, boom, kind of cuts back in. So I just follow this recipe the whole haircut. So I could follow the swells all the way out to the sides and all the way up top and all the way to the other side. And as long as I'm following that natural growth of his hair with this feather razor, it's going to be a very nice haircut. It's going to grow out extremely nice because we went with the way his hair is growing. We're adding a ton of texture. I'm able to rip off a bunch of length. It's a fun way to cut hair. No one else does it. Feels good for the client. It's kind of a unique sensation to have a razor cut. Your money goes up. So it's like, don't be afraid to try these old school techniques on today's haircuts. So I'm just really proud that I know how to use the feather razor effectively and strong, and it really makes me a lot of money, and I hope you guys kind of jump on board with the feather razor. So like I said, I'm going shorter in the crown as we adventure up this cut. I'm keeping and gaining length. So I'm just going to keep going back and forth over my eye of my hurricane, watching which way that goes, make sure I'm combing it in the direction it wants to go. Here at the Art of Reduction, we're never trying to fight the hair. We want to be friends with the hair. We want to work with the hair. The more you could work with this haircut and this hair, the better the haircut's going to grow out, the better he's going to feel, and the more odds are you're going to be a very popular stylist or barber in your hometown. So let's continue reducing this length, adding texture, making sure I'm following his natural growth pattern with my razor as I shingle and shatter, cut forward. Again, I want him to feel different. I want him to feel good. He has a very nice, prominent beard that he's going to keep, so why not, the change of him is going to be this haircut more than the beard. And no matter what, if you can make your guy feel like a new man, give him a little bit extra pep in his step, that's a lot of power. A lot of your clients are going through a lot of hard times. You might be going through a hard time, so you know what I'm talking about. But if you could give them a little bit of positive energy through a haircut, a little bit of a change through a service, a little bit of confidence, a little bit of time to breathe, not really think about the negatives of the world in your chair, you're doing some justice for the human. And the more we could do that as barbers, make our guys feel comfortable, make our guys feel loved, cared about, thought of, the more I could do that for Eric or anyone in my chair, the odds of me being a popular barber in my town go up tremendously. So to care is very, very, very important. So let's blow him off. You can already see how much damage we've done with that razor. So I'm going to add a little bit more water. And then from here, now I can use my scissors. I can kind of come through here, and if there's any outliers or anything that I missed with my razor, it's a lot easier just to find that stuff now because there's really not too many of them. So I'm just going to go through here, just make sure my shape's fine. Just kind of cross-check everything with my scissors, a lot of point cutting. Let me come to this side real quick so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. Seems a little long, right through there. So let's just go through here. Start cutting. If you notice, I want this haircut to go to the right. So if you notice, I'm cutting and I'm pushing, I'm directing all this haircut towards the right. And I'm able to do that with water, with my comb, with the way I'm slicing at this haircut, which the way I did my feather razor. And more importantly, this is what his hair wants to do. So it's like, as long as I'm following and being kind to his hair, listening to his head shape, listening to his hair, I know at the end of this it's going to be a good haircut. I don't really have to stress too much about the final product as long as I'm doing the haircut. I'm following these kind of simple ideas of which way does the hair go, which way does it not want to go. And as I follow those instructions throughout the whole service, I don't have to stress about the end of the service or where we're going to end up because I know it's going to look good. So I'm going to get him wet more on the bangs. Remember, we haven't really touched those yet. And then all I like to do is you saw me when I first marked off his bangs. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to tilt his head up and I'm just going to come a little lower. So if you notice, I'm still marking off a ton of his bangs, but I'm going to bring some back into this haircut. So let's go ahead and make sure we have all that. Boom. So I'm going to mark him off using my trusty clips. 1, 2, with not as much hair. So if you notice now I brought down that bang, so we have quite a bit longer hair here. Let's jump back on my feather razor. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the same thing I just did to the crown. Texture, texture, texture with my feather razor. I'm going to drop my feather razor, scissor, 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 the rest of the cut. I personally like to look, where is the problem? It looks like there's a lot more hair right here. So that's my problematic area. I'm going to attack it first. So let's rip this hair. Rip this hair out. Shatter cut. Let's make sure that little blend looks smooth. Again, if you're close to a part of the haircut you already done, like this little brim right here, I already kind of cut that. But to be able to go back over it and doctor it up, touch it up a little bit, is not out of the question. Just because we're moving, I'm working on the bangs, but there's a little bit of area right here that I just noticed that I didn't like. Take the time to step back and just finish that little part and jump right back where you were. There's no true rhyme or reason or structure to any haircut. That's the beauty of it. You could be as ADD as possible. As long as you go back and touch all those little spots that you might have missed or skipped, the haircut will be there waiting for you. So be patient, cut good hair, and if you need to take some step back, feel free to do so, because I do it all the time. I catch myself forgetting to do a step. I didn't like the way, now that we're up here, maybe I don't like the way that transition was. I need to go back and change it. You're not getting docked. No one's going to fire you over going back through your haircut and fixing anything. So be picky. You're the only one who should be picky on yourself is you. And we're going to go from there. So remember, here in a second, I'm going to drop my feather razor. And I'm just going to kind of dust everything with my scissors. Kind of pull it up, add some texture. Are there anything I missed with my feather razor? This corner was a little bit thick and poofy, so I want to make sure that I'm able to reduce that. Pushing forward, his hair goes to the right, so making sure this cut is more towards the right. Let's blow him off. And then let's finalize, let's maybe do one more bang. It does, you could section off his bangs 20 times as you go through and cut it. It does not matter to me. I probably do it maybe 3 or 4 different segments or sections just to make sure that I'm doing well. So I'm just going to come down a little bit more. Okay, you see how we're just getting less and less bangs? So I might only need 1 clip for this one now. I'm going to drop my scissor. I'm jumping right back on my feather razor. I like a system, whatever, you know, if I could do the same system throughout the cut, to me, it's going to make it look uniform throughout the whole cut. If I do the exact same kind of cutting technique throughout the whole head, to me, that's going to make it really uniform and very, very put together. It's going to, the same texture that we have built in his crown is going to venture all the way up to the top of it, to these curls and to the longer bangs. But even though the hair is longer up here, it's going to have the same kind of texture and look as the whole haircut. And to me, that's what really brings these haircuts to life. And we could have all the texture the same, the haircut the same, and it really just kind of makes everything look good. So from there, let's drop them. And I'm going to be a little aggressive. Again, we're on camera, so let's be a little aggressive here. I'm going to jump on my trimmers now. And I'm going to try, see where that hair flips right here? Let's be aggressive. Well, I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to use a different clip trimmer. That one just died on me. So it doesn't matter which one I use. And I'm going to just... And I know he wears his hair messy and towards the right, so I'm just kind of making sure I'm just having a little bit of angle this way. Let's blow him off. I'm gonna get him wet again. And from here, what I like to do is we're going to put a couple of Velcro clips. They really only work when the hair is super wet. So now I can have that pinched off. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come up underneath and I'm going to get any of these baby hairs. Really start cleaning our gentleman up a little bit. Remember, I already cleaned up his eyebrows. I already did a lot of this work already. So it just helps me kind of see. I'm gonna have you tilt up a little bit. Thank you, sir. Cleaning up that forehead. Anytime I'm working around the face, I call it pushing. I'm creating my frame. So again, why not just kind of do a little bit of detail work real quick. Push. Clean up his C shape real quick. Clean up that little taper. I call this tying it all together. You know, making it all look uniform, making it all look really presentable. And again, I'm gonna focus on the beard at the very end, but if I could do a couple little things while I'm here, I'm always going to. Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit more detail around the ears, just make sure all this is smooth, double check everything. I'm not hearing any hair being taken, so that's a good thing. All the way around. Clean up over here. Let's clean up his little C shape. And once I bust out the straight razor, all of this will even pop even more. So that's why I encourage you all to try to learn that straight razor. My game and my money definitely skyrocketed when I busted out the straight razor and took the time to learn it. And I really encourage any young barber, stylist, to try to get that razor work under control so you could really start making that extra money. So here in a second, we'll do a little bit more razor work. Okay, so far I think that fade is looking really good. Let's pop off our little foil shavers. And I like to cut hair with my blow dryer. So I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna use the wind to kind of show me any bad hairs. So I'm gonna use them as my bangs. I'm gonna step back and kind of look at him. Look at my nose, Eric. Always have my clients like look at my nose, just so I could be right on with them. Beautiful. So as I'm going, I can always jump back up to my haircut, okay? But if I'm doing a haircut beard trim, there has to be a time where like, you know, the haircut's done, it's time to start working on this beard. So I feel like the haircut's really nice right now. Might do a couple little extra works as I go through this beard. But I'm gonna kind of show you how I tackle this beard. Most importantly, let's just brush him off. He wants to keep a lot of this. He wants it flattened out. But more importantly, I don't like how it is kind of fanning out through here. So I really want to reduce this down. So this is all, beards are kind of wild west right now. So there's not that many like, this is exactly how you do a beard. But I'm going to kind of try, I like to do a lot of freehand work with my guys and beards. I don't like to use too much clipper guard. So I'm just going to use my JRL trimmer. And I'm going to really kind of start reducing this bulk down. What I like to do though is I like to stand right in front of him and I start drawing this line first. So I'm just going to start coming here. I'm going to come straight down. I might be in your way to film this, but I'm just trying to make this as nice and straight as possible. I have them tilt down. I have their head usually on a swivel. I'm going to have you kind of loosen up a little bit. There we go, buddy. So I'm going to have him kind of moving around a little bit for me. Again, being in control of your client is so important. Meaning having a nice touch on him, having a controlling touch. So in case he sneezes or moves, I could bounce off real quick. But it is so important to be present and aware of what you're doing right now, because if I go digging too much, it will really hurt him. I even like to stand on my tippy toes and come down at this angle. And then whatever you do to one side, we're going to do to the other. And this time, instead of me coming this way, I'm going to have to tilt my trimmer a different way now. And I'm going to come all the way down. All the way down. All the way down. Being patient. If you notice here in a second, there's going to be a lot of hair on my cape, so it's going to be like hard to tell like what hair did I cut and what hair didn't cut. So I think it's very important to make sure that we continually blow off our client so we could see exactly what we're doing, which here in a second I'm going to do that. You notice I have his head on a swivel, moving it around exactly where I need it to be to create this. I like using my hands for my comb when it comes to the beard. Nice and straight down. You can already see how his face is starting to shine a little bit, starting to sleek down a little bit. And that is what it's all about. Like, that's what I'm trying to show you guys through these videos, is the way these people's faces look, my models' faces look after these haircuts. And some of my clients, or some of the models I brought in, had fairly short hair to begin with, you know, and then all of a sudden you see how, what just a little bit of art of reduction, or just a little bit of a thoughtful cut on these people, how their faces just kind of start to glow and change and look better and feel better. And I just can't just tell you enough just how important these haircuts and beard trims are for your guys. You know, you really are making them look younger, you're making their significant others kind of be in awe of them, maybe fall in love with them a little bit more, maybe remind them of when they're younger. I mean, you never know what the power you could be bestowing onto your client just because you cared and you really wanted to give them a really cool haircut. And I just think Eric has a cool vibe. He has a great family. He works super hard. And, you know, if I could give him just a little bit of extra pep in his step for the week, for the day, for the night, you know, that's a lot of power that I could try to give my gentleman. So he said he wanted it kind of squared and rounded off, just the dead ends. He really likes the long beard. So that's what I'm going to give my gentleman. Just slowly creating that shape. Slowly creating that shape. I don't think I've ever seen a YouTube video of a haircut with a beard this long, so I'm pretty excited about that. Here in a second, I'm going to hit him with a little bit of air control. Really start seeing what this beard's looking like. Let's clean them off again. I'm gonna spray them with a little bit of air control. This is just a very lightweight hairspray from Aveda. And now I'm just going to come in with some heavy scissors. And I'm just going to get any flyaways. Keeping that beard nice and long. Trying to keep a nice slim profile on it. Come down at all different angles. And patient, just like with the haircut, this is very important to be patient. Okay, so far I'm kind of liking the length, I'm liking the shape. So let's get a little bit of mustache detail on him. Whatever you're doing, whatever side you're working on, that's the side. So I kind of cut his face down the middle. So if I'm on the left side, I'm working from here over, okay? So let's just be patient. I think with a long beard, it's imperative to not have like a really short mustache. So we're going to keep some of this length. I said we do a 3-guard. So I'm going to jump on a 3-guard real quick on my clipper, and I'm just going to work on this one side of the mustache. Kind of come down right here. Again, I want this to be a nice, sleek look for my gentleman. Okay, I'm gonna jump on a 2 guard now. Be careful, don't hit his nose with the clipper guard, that kind of hurts. Being patient. Again, just working on this one side. Okay, now we're gonna move to a clipper. You tuck your nose like this. I'm gonna push down. Do a little nose work. Get inside the nostril a little bit, don't hurt them. Being patient. Let's go ahead and knock off that lip a little bit. Open up his lip just a little bit, perfect. Just move that hair out of the way so I can get into this corner. Being patient. He likes a nice thick mustache, so I'm gonna try to give him just a nice clean, thick mustache is my goal. If you notice, I'm working on just one side. I'm gonna touch his eyebrow a little bit more, so a little hair I didn't like. Work on this cheekbone a little bit. Being patient, cleaning up all the bad hairs. I hope you guys kind of start seeing them kind of come to life a little bit, even though we're keeping a nice long beard. Just kind of goes to show, the amazing power of just a taper, a nice fade. Okay, whatever you do to one side, we must do to the other. So if you remembered, I was on a 3 guard first, so let's jump back on our 3 guard. Now I'm on this side, so I'm just gonna go through here. And whatever you do to one side, what's the goal? To just do the same thing on the other side. Trying to make this look as symmetrical as possible for my gentleman. Remember, I kind of came down and did a little bit of 3 guard work right through here. Being patient. Make sure you're not hit his nose. Remember, I moved down to a 2 guard now, so that's what I'm about to do. 2 guard. Make sure that nose is out of the way. A little detail work around the sideburns. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. Okay, now I'm jumping on my trimmer. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. Trying to make them look as symmetrical as possible. Open up his mouth a little bit. Tuck your nose. Making sure we have a nice, even cheek line. I like cutting hair with a mirror, be able to use a mirror to kind of make sure everything's symmetrical is clutch. I like the quote, "Your mirror never lies." So definitely make sure you're using your mirror on all these little cuts and things that we're doing just to make sure that you're nice and symmetrical. So I'm gonna look at them one-on-one real quick. blow him off. So far, I'm really liking what I'm seeing so far. Okay. I'm gonna do just a little bit of razor work on him just to kind of brighten him up. Using some pre-shave. Just gonna hit his cheekbone, cover his eye, get his C shape. I'm gonna do one side at a time. Bust out my straight razor here. And then I'm just gonna be very patient. I'm gonna kind of clean up this little peak here. Clean up C shape here. And I'm gonna move that straight into his beard. Being patient. Little eyebrow work. Being patient. Clean up underneath back here. You could hear that hair being taken. Whatever you do to one side, let's do to the other. A little pre-shave. And these are just the final touches of my haircuts. These little bitty razor works to make sure my lines look really even, make sure everything's nice and crisp. You know, the stuff I'm spraying smells really good. So I'm adding a little bit of aromatherapy to my services. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. So clean up this back line. And I'm gonna do one more overall blowout on him. And let's double check where we are with the beard. So I'm gonna go one more time with my trimmers and knock off any bad guys. Knock off any bad guys. Okay, I'm gonna undrape them real quick. Let's blow them off. I'm gonna add a little bit of product to them. Today I'm gonna use the Layrite Cement Clay. This will add a little bit of texture to them, adds a little bit of hold. I try to teach everyone, I'm right-handed, so I dip it out with my right index finger. I place all that product into my left palm. I make sure I get all the product off my index finger. From here, I keep my fingers super far apart and I go in a circular motion just in my palms with a lot of pressure. Softens up the product, kind of looks like this now. From here, I close my hands and I'm doing a praying mantis motion, almost like I'm starting a fire. And all of a sudden, if you notice, that product almost disappears and almost start on the top of his head and the back, and I'm making an exterior shell. So if you notice, I'm not really working the product into the hair, I'm working the product onto the hair. And once I feel like as though that exterior shell is even and perfect, would I start to kind of run my hands through this haircut. And more importantly, I'm gonna get a little bit on his beard. Let me look at him one more time. And today, that was an episode of Art of Reduction. Can't thank you enough for all the support and views. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them. And make sure you hit that subscribe button. And thank you so much. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
You're welcome, buddy.